The elevator doors slide shut behind her, then spring open again as if playing a cruel trick. She presses every button, not just once, but twice, 3 times, a frantic rhythm against the metallic panel. She peers into the hallway, her head darting left to right, like she's being followed by something unseen, a shadow only she can perceive. Then she starts to speak, fast, animated, her hands gesturing wildly, almost bargaining with the empty air before vanishing into thin air herself. That, my friends, is the last time anyone saw Elisa Lam alive. The official line, accidental drowning. But tonight we're going to walk through every single corridor of this baffling case, every frustrating contradiction, every creepy coincidence until we finally get to the bottom of why the internet still refuses to close this file. Hey everyone, I'm LanceThePI, and I'm a licensed private investigator for over 25 years in the field, plus more than 10 years as serving as a police officer before that. I've worked everything from missing persons to suspicious deaths, and I've seen cases that haunt you long after the file closes. Welcome to the channel where we don't just chase stories, we investigate them with the same procedures I'd use on an active case. If you're new here, we do the deep dive with professional analysis, examining evidence the way law enforcement would. Then, at the very end, I'll give you my professional opinion and ask what you believe. Sound like your kind of investigation? Then hit that subscribe button, because today's case is one that frustrated armchair detectives and professional investigators alike. It's a puzzle wrapped in enigma, set inside a hotel with a history darker than most crime scenes I've worked. Who was Elisa Lam? She was 21, a student of the University of British Columbia. On Tumblr, she was bubbly, candid about her bipolar diagnosis, and absolutely obsessed with fashion, Harry Potter, and the exhilarating idea of traveling solo down to the West Coast. She saved up tips from her coffee shop job, packed a suitcase the size of a mini fridge because you know a girl need options, and booked the Cecil Hotel because it looked quirky cheap on Expedia. There were no rich parents bankrolling her adventure, no secret life hidden in the shadows, just a kid full of life, chasing independence with a camera and a blog. Now, in my many years working missing persons cases, I can tell you this: victim background is everything. Who they were, their mental state, their habits, it all matters when you're trying to reconstruct those final hours. That human detail matters, doesn't it? Because the mystery only truly stings when you remember a real vibrant person disappeared, not just some viral ghost story. Her hopes, her dreams, her everyday struggles, they all make her ultimate fate so much more tragic and so much harder to reconcile. Let's talk about the Cecil. It opened its doors in 1927, initially envisioned as a budget palace, a grand hotel for the working class. But in the 80s, oh, how it had fallen. It was a flop house, a transient haven where serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker himself, paid $14 a night and reportedly joked about the satanic decor. Can you even imagine? 2 murders on record happened inside room 1402 alone. So when Elsa checked into room 506 on January 26, 2013, she wasn't just staying in downtown LA. She was sleeping in a building the city had desperately tried to forget, a place steeped in grim history. As an investigator, location matters. The Cecil's layout, its security gaps, its transient population, all of this is relevant to understanding access and opportunity. Elevator jam, lights flicker, and the rooftop water tank sit behind a locked door, an alarmed hatch, and a 20-foot ladder. Or at least that's what the staff told the police. A place of shadows and secrets. The Cecil seemed almost to breathe its own dark history into every guest stay. Housekeeping last saw her January 31st. Surveillance places her alone in the lobby at 6:30 a.m. Then nothing. Just like that, she's gone. Her friends back home in Vancouver start to panic when her daily Tumblr queue, usually so active, suddenly stops. The LAPD files a missing persons report. Flyers go up all over the city, and the Cecil's management insists their camera never caught her leaving the building. Spoiler alert, they never do. In my experience, when somebody vanishes from inside a building and surveillance shows no exit, you've got three possibilities. They're still in the building, they left through an unmonitored exit, or your surveillance system has gaps. The LAPD had to work all three angles, as if she simply evaporated, leaving behind a digital trail that abruptly ended and a physical space that offered no answers. The silence from her usual online presence spoke volumes to those who knew her best, hinting that something was very wrong. 12 days later, the LAPD, desperate for leads, releases a 4-minute clip of Elisa in the hotel elevator, lightly editing for a time. We watch her step in, press multiple floors, hide in a corner, step back out, gesture wildly, then disappear. The clip racks up 10 million views in a week. Suddenly the internet is all right. Suddenly the internet is alight. Keyboard analysis swear they see a second set of feet in the frame, that the timestamp jumps erratically, and her arms look too long, almost inhuman. The department quietly uploads an unedited version, hoping to quell the frenzy. Same bizarre behavior, no glitches. Now, I've reviewed thousands of hours of surveillance footage in my career, and let me tell you something. When people start seeing ghosts in a grainy video, they're usually seeing compressed artifacts and confirmation bias. But the questions explode. Why is the door held open for so long? Was somebody else outside the frame unseen? And how do you get that worked up, that frantic, if no one else is truly there? The footage itself became a character in the mystery, fueling endless speculation and igniting the imagination of millions. Then on February 14th, a date forever etched in infamy in this case, guests at the Cecil start complaining. The sink water is brown and tastes funny. Can you imagine? Maintenance climbs to the roof, opens the tank access, and there she is. They find Elisa floating face up, her clothes removed by the currents and the decomposition, her suitcase nearly parked on the ledge beside the hatch. Firefighters drain 4,000 gallons of water before they can even cut the tank open to retrieve her. I've worked cases where bodies were recovered from water, and decomposition in liquid environments follows specific patterns. The autopsy notes no trauma, no needle marks, no pills in her stomach, only therapeutic traces of her prescriptions, meaning she'd likely skip doses for days. Cause of death? Accidental drowning. Manner of death? Accidental. The internet reaction, predictably, was resounding. Bull! The official findings just don't sit right with the public. Not after that footage, not after that hotel. Let's count the hurdles, shall we? Because this accidental drowning theory comes with some serious logistical headaches. Now, this is where my investigative training kicks in. Let me walk you through this like I'm briefing a case review board. 1. The roof door was alarmed, yet there's no log entry, no alarm triggered, nothing to indicate forced entry. In my experience, hotel alarm systems are notoriously unreliable. Maintenance disables them for roof work, batteries die, or staff just props doors open. I've investigated dozens of properties where alarm doors haven't worked in months. 2. The ladder up to the tank is 10 feet tall, slick with pigeon grease, and she was only 5'3" in canvas sneakers. How did she get up there? Here's what most people miss. Adrenaline. I've seen people in crisis states do things that they would have physically impossible under normal circumstances. Climb fences they couldn't reach, run for miles they couldn't normally jog. A human body in fight or flight is capable of extraordinary things. 3. The lid of the tank is 20 pounds of metal, and maintenance swore they found it closed. Police say the water pressure could have settled the lid back down. Engineers, however, reply that you'd need a perfect vortex plus a following wind. Basically, a Harry Potter spell to achieve that. I've consulted with engineers on this type of equipment, and here's the reality. Those lids don't seal like a bank vault. They sit in grooves. Water movement, even settling, can shift them. Is it common? No. It's impossible. Also, no. 4. Scent dogs never signaled on the roof during the first sweep, despite her body being up there. Handlers counted that chlorine and rotten pigeon feathers could mask human odor. Canine units are excellent tools, but they're not infallible. Wind direction, contamination, handler errors, all of these affect results. I've seen dogs miss obvious evidence, and I've seen them alert on nothing. They're an investigative tool, not a magic bullet. 5. Toxicology finds no meds at therapeutic levels, raising the psychosis flag. Yet no one explains how she navigated all those barriers, all those physical challenges, while allegedly hallucinating. This is the piece that actually concerns me most from an investigative standpoint. But psychosis doesn't mean incompetence. People in manic or psychotic states can be incredibly focused on their perceived mission. In this case, possibly hiding or escaping a perceived threat. Each point a new question mark, making the simple answer feel increasingly complex. But let's not forget Elisa's own words. Her blog post mentioned 2 prior suicide attempts during depressive swings and 1 forced exit from a class after a manic episode. Her doctor had explicitly warned her that skipping lithium, even for just 3 days, could trigger full-blown psychosis, paranoia, derealization, and a powerful compulsion to hide. In my 10 years as a police officer, I responded to countless mental health crisis calls. I've talked people down from ledges, searched for missing persons experiencing psychotic breaks, and worked with families devastated by bipolar disorder. Doesn't the elevator clip suddenly make more sense when viewed through that lens? It fits a classic calling for help while convinced someone is chasing you pattern. If she climbed the fire escape believing she was being pursued, that tank may have looked like a hiding spot, a place of refuge from the unseen threat. Once inside the smooth, slippery walls, an 8-foot depth would make escape impossible. This is the part that people don't want to hear, but I have to say it. Mental illness kills. It kills quietly. It kills publicly. It kills in ways that don't make sense to those of us on the outside looking in. The sad truth is that bipolar disorder kills more people annually than many cancers. The tragedy here is how public her final desperate minutes became. It's a stark reminder of the devastating power of mental illness. Okay, time for the conspiracy corner. Let me put on my detective hat and walk you through these theories the way I would during an actual investigation. Theory A hotel employee, perhaps with master keys, copied them, tailored her. Theory A hotel employee, perhaps with master keys, copied them, tailed her, forced her to the roof, and dumped her. Motive? None found. Ex-employee polygraph? Passed with flying colors. Look, in 25 years as a PI, I've investigated plenty of inside jobs. You need motive, opportunity, and evidence. Here we have opportunity, zero motive, and most importantly, no physical evidence. No DNA, no witnesses, no financial connection, nothing. Theory B, a guest perhaps doing drugs on the roof, panicked after an assault leading to her death. Problem? No fibers, no DNA, no defensive wounds on Elsa's body. Nothing to suggest a struggle. I've worked sexual assault cases and homicides. Where there's a struggle, there's evidence. Skin under fingernails, bruising patterns, torn clothing before it enters the water. The coroner found none of that. 0 defensive wounds means either she was completely incapacitated, which toxicology ruled out, or there was no attacker. Theory C, and this one is a doozy. The tuberculosis angle. A week before Elias' death, Skid Row, which is right near the Cecil, had an outbreak. The public health test for TB is at the Lam Elisa essay, her name spelled backwards. The internet sleuth screwed biowelfare cover-up. Folks, I've investigated conspiracy theories that had more meat on them than this. The test was developed in the 80s, long before her trip, and no TB bacteria showed up in her autopsy. It's a comic coincidence, not a Jason Bourne plot. Sometimes things just line up in a weird way, and our brains try to connect the dots that aren't there. Here's what I tell clients when they bring me cases. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Murder accusations require proof, not speculation. And then, of course, there's the supernatural. The Cecil, with its dark history, is a magnet for ghost hunters. Some claim the elevator footage shows a second translucent figure. Others say her hands gesture match some sort of ritual summoning. The Netflix doc, bless its heart, fanned these flames by interviewing a psychic who insists Elisa's spirit is still checking elevator button. Look, I'm an evidence guy. I deal in fingerprints, timestamps, witness statements, and physical evidence. Ghosts don't leave those things behind. No empirical data, no scientific proof, just a compelling narrative. But the story survives because the hotel itself, it's a character, isn't it? Every creaking hallway, every flickering light, every unsettling silence begs for a ghost, particularly writes itself into the lore. It's a place where the veil between worlds feels thin, and that's a powerful draw for those seeking the unexplained. So after all that, here's my professional opinion as someone who's closed hundreds of cases over 3 decades in law enforcement and private investigation. This was a tragic accident caused by mental health crisis. Here's the latest convoluted timeline that accounts for every verified fact, every piece of evidence we have. She skips her meds, misses sleep, posts erratic tweets. She skips her meds, misses sleep, posts erratic tweets, and enters a manic state, spiraling into psychosis. She leaves her room, can't operate the elevator because she's hitting the door behind button instead of the floor numbers. She leaves her room, can't operate the elevator because she's hitting the door hold button instead of the floor numbers, getting spooked by the door timing out, and bolts upstairs via the unlocked fire escape. And yes, I believe that fire escape was unlocked because hotels violate their own security protocols constantly. On the roof, disoriented and paranoid, she mistakes the water tank for shelter, a place to hide. Boosted by adrenaline, she climbs the ladder, slips in, the lid drops, sealing her fate. She drowns. The chlorine in the water mass decomposition, allowing the world to go viral with theories while her body remained hidden for weeks. No hooded figure, no government hitman, just a perfect storm of mental health crisis meeting architectural weirdness and security failures. Now, does that mean LAPD's investigation was perfect? Absolutely not. I see gaps. I see assumptions. I see places where I would have pushed harder. But imperfect investigation doesn't equal murder conspiracy. It means human beings doing difficult work in difficult environment made judgment calls, some good, some questionable. That explanation wounds us, doesn't it? Because it's mundane, it's messy, and we want our mysteries to wear capes, to have a clear villain, a dramatic twist. But I've learned over 35 years in the business that most tragedies don't have villains. But I've learned in over 35 years in this business that most tragedies don't have villains. They have circumstances, bad luck, and human fatality. They have circumstances, bad luck, and human fragility. The cultural impact of Elisa Lam's story is undeniable. Netflix's crime scene series led to a 500% spike in Cecil bookings, mostly urban explorers and amateur sleuth live streaming ghost hunts. Yelp now labels the hotel temporary closed, rebranded as Stay on Main, yet TripAdvisor reviews still mention Elisa vibes in the shower pressure. Musician Skind released a track sampling the actual elevator audio, and horror director James Wan cites her case as partial inspiration for the chilling film Malignant. As someone who's worked with victims' families, this part troubles me deeply. We as a society turned a profound tragedy into a morbid haunted house theme park, and every click, every view, every shared theory just keeps the loop spinning, perpetually the myth and sometimes overshadowing the real person at its center. Before we wrap up, a quick but crucial note on respectful consumption. This isn't just YouTube talk. This is professional ethics. If you visited true crime forums, if you've dived into the Reddit threads, remember Elisa had siblings, parents, and friends who Google her name and see speculation about demonic portals and shadowy figures. Stick to the evidence. Challenge sloppy theories, and please flag posts that share the rooftop method. Suicide contagion is very dangerous. I've worked cases where online speculation has destroyed families, interfered with active investigations, and inspired copycat incidents. Mystery enthusiasm shouldn't ever cost another family their peace, or worse, inspire another tragedy. We can be curious without being callous. So, accident or conspiracy? The coroner closed the file and made their ruling. But the internet, as we've seen, never will. As a private investigator who spent 25 years reopening closed cases, I get it. Sometimes the official story is incomplete. Sometimes it's flat out wrong. But in this case, after reviewing the evidence, the timeline, the physical facts, and applying decades of investigative experience, I believe the coroner got it right, even if they didn't explain it well. Maybe that's because accepting the simple, ambient, heartbreaking answer means admitting mental illness can kill without a villain to blame. And that's scarier than a ghost story. Or maybe deep down we just like a puzzle we can't quite solve. Because if we can't solve it, we don't have to accept how fragile safety or sanity can truly be. Watch the footage again, just one more time, and tell me, do you see a terrified woman in crisis, lost in her mind, or proof that something darker, something truly sinister stalks the Cecil haunted corridors? I've given you my professional opinion. Now I want yours. Either way, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you on the next investigation, hopefully one that ends with more answers than questions.